Is 10,000 XRP enough? Now, this is the number one question that I get as a content creator focused on XRP. How much XRP should I get? How much is enough? And of course, this is all relative. It's basically almost impossible to answer the question without the rest of the context, right? Is it enough to do what? Go buy a house, go start a business, retire, generational wealth? And what's the timeline going to be on XRP going to some of these prices? So in today's update, I'm going to try to address this question. I'm going to put two separate timelines in front of you. Both include XRP going to $10 this year and eventually making it to $100 per XRP, but two different timelines on how we get there and what that would mean for you as an investor, your portfolio, and the options that it would open up to you. So if you guys appreciate our content, please help us out by liking this video, sharing it out far and wide. Maybe share it out with somebody who's new to XRP, trying to understand how much XRP should I actually try to get. And of course, this is going to be determined off of how high do you think XRP is going to go. Some people are going to say, throw my timeline out the window because XRP is going to $1,000 this year. And I would love for that to be the case. In fact, that would answer a lot of questions and present a new set of problems for many of us as investors. And I wish that we could tackle those problems. That would be a lot of fun. Okay. So I hope that my timelines are wrong. I hope we get to $1,000 XRP. I hope that we do it a lot faster than I'm expecting. But I'm going to run you through this. Let me know in the comments down below what you think, and let's get it started. Now, the reason why I get this is the number one question, but we also just broke a record for the number of wallets that hold at least 10,000 XRP. It just hit an all-time high of 332,230 wallets. This is from Sentiment. Now, reminder that this is not necessarily 332,000 people, right? You got people like myself that keep some XRP in cold storage, keep some XRP at Caleb and Brown, keep some XRP there and there, right? I got it hidden in a few different spots. And so just because we have 332,000 unique wallets holding 10,000 XRP, we probably have, half that, right? If we assume each person maybe has 1, 2, maybe 3 wallets that have 10,000 XRP, we might be talking about a group of people that's only 100 or 200,000 people that make up those 332,000 wallets. But this kind of inspired me to make today's update. It shows here, extends consistent growth trend that has been building since June of 2024. The continued rise in XRP Ledger wallets holding at least 10,000 XRP is an important long-term signal because it shows that larger holders have kept accumulating even during periods of volatility and uncertainty. So obviously somebody's taken advantage of these discounted XRP prices to stack up at least 10,000 XRP. There's a lot of people that are shooting to get to that number. 332,000 wallets have already achieved that. And so, that clearly that's a number, a big psychological number, and a big target that a lot of people are shooting for. Historically, rising numbers of mid to large wallets suggest increasing conviction from investors who are less focused on short-term price swings and more interested in long-term positioning. And that's what we're going to be talking about in today's update. The timelines here does not include XRP going to $100 or $1,000 this year. But we're going to show you, I think, some conservative timelines for that expectation and what that would look like for your 10,000 XRP. Now, this is especially notable because XRP has spent much of 2026 trading below previous highs, meaning many holders appear willing to accumulate during fear rather than chase momentum. God bless you. You're going to be rewarded if that's you, that's us. Many in our community have been taking advantage of this. Now, they do note that there was a sharp drop of more than 4,500 of these 10,000 plus wallets between February 6th and 8th that you see. There does not appear to be one confirmed XRP specific event directly tied to it. However, the timing strongly suggests it was connected to the crypto-wide crash liquidations that we saw that brought in the bottom 60K Bitcoin, $1.11 XRP right around February 5th and 6th. But now the growth in wallets since then have now exceeded that level. So February lows, 60K Bitcoin, $1.11 for XRP. We saw a little bit of a drop off there, but we've now brought that back up and now we exceed that. So a lot of people came in and bought the dip, right? And they've been accumulating while we've been chopping sideways in this range, which we love to see. That's very bullish. But now let's get to the question. And the answer is 10,000 XRP enough? So what I did is I just had Grok put this into a simple table for me just so that I can present this for you guys. But this is simple mental math, right? If you have 10,000 XRP goes to $10, you're going to have $100,000. If it goes to 50, you're going to have $500,000. And if it goes to $100 for XRP, you have 10,000, you're obviously going to have $1 million portfolio, at least for your XRP holding. But let's look at the timelines. One that's not as aggressive, more conservative, and another one that's a little bit more aggressive, with XRP reaching $100 before 2030. Let's run it down. So taking a look here at the chart that I had Grok spin up for me. So right now, XRP is $1.44. We're going to assume, I said, Grok, we're going to buy 10,000 XRP today. And then we are going to watch XRP go to $10, $50, and $100 on two different timelines. So you see right here on timeline 1, we reached $10 this year. So your portfolio is going to be $100,000. And in this timeline, I say that it's going to take till 2029, basically the top of the next bull cycle, right? If we continue on the 4-year cycle trajectory, we topped out in 21, we topped out in 25, now we'll top out again in 2029. And so in this timeline, we're going to assume that we go to $50 XRP by 2029. So you would have to wait, about 3 years here to get to a portfolio value of $500,000. And then it's going to take until the following cycle, 2023, 2024, right? We're pushing out there 7 or 8 years to get to $100 per XRP. And so your portfolio value would finally reach $1 million in 2034. Okay. Now, timeline 2 is a little bit more aggressive. Let's say the XRP still goes to $10 this year. Okay, we're still at 100,000. But let's say we go to $50 next year in 2027. That would bring us to $500,000 portfolio value next year. Now, we're going to get real bullish and we're going to say that XRP is going to go to $100 by 2029. So you wait 3 years here to see your investment of $14,400 today turn into $1 million in 3 years. Now, the ROI on this, and in both scenarios, even the conservative scenario, it's ridiculous. The ROI, your cash on cash return, I didn't do the numbers, but it's big, right? This is better than any investment you'd probably ever have in your life, even if we go on the more conservative timeline and it takes till 2030 and beyond to reach $100 plus. But in this example, on both timelines, right, we get to a portfolio value of $1 million, assuming that XRP goes to $100 in the next 10 years, right? By 2033, 2034, we're at $100 XRP. Your 10,000 XRP would be worth $1 million. That's the most drawn out conservative scenario here. And even in that, right, that buys you a lot of time to prepare for that portfolio value to increase. And then the question becomes, what do you do next? Because I do want to point this out, that if we go to $50, $100, $1,000 XRP, the sudden wealth syndrome that's going to kick in for a lot of people is going to have a lot of people fumbling that bag. Your problem then becomes, what do I do next? And so as we go through both these scenarios, and you can look and you can change the timeline, you can change these variables. If you have 100,000 XRP, if you have 1,000 XRP, right, you can change those variables on the timeline as well, on the price as well. This is a simple equation, and everybody can do this back of the napkin math for yourself. But I wanted to put this out because when you have the numbers in front of you, you can really see what your portfolio is going to be worth and what you could realistically do with that, right? Is $1 million enough for generational wealth? No, not in this economy. It's been decades since $1 million was enough to create and have generational wealth, right? The generational wealth number for me definitely is over 5 million. It's 10 million plus at this point. We just got hot inflation data again this morning. So at this point, $10 million to me is the generational wealth number, where you have enough to live a great life yourself, and you're going to have enough to pass on to the generation below you. and you'll have a real estate, something to be proud of and something to hand on down that hopefully your kids can grow upon, can continue to grow. But when we look here, your 10,000 XRP and XRP goes to $10. A lot of people want to tune out and don't even want to hear that because they know a $100,000 portfolio value is not enough to do much. But here's where it gets exciting. The good news is that even if it takes a little bit longer, takes a year, 2, 3 years for XRP to go to these levels, it's going to buy you time for one, the Clarity Act and regulations to be set, and then the DeFi ecosystem for XRP and the different protocols and dApps and all of the amendments coming here to bring on-chain lending to the XRP ledger, all of that capability and access becomes available in a regulated market over the next 2 to 3 years. And so your ability to borrow against this XRP, you have 10,000 XRP, XRP goes to $100, you got $1 million, but before you go sell, right? That's not what the wealthy do. That's not what the rich do. They're going to go borrow against it. And so, yes, it's going to suck waiting another 2-3 years for XRP to go to some of these prices that we've been dreaming about. But the timing of it's really perfect in the sense that you'll have a regulated environment, a proven environment where you can go to a DeFi protocol or a dApp, or even a centralized provider that's been providing loans against XRP for a couple years. And you can see that they didn't go bust. They haven't had issues. And then hopefully, right, those rates get more competitive because right now to borrow against your XRP, you're at best maybe getting a 10% interest rate on that loan. And your loan to value is going to be maybe 40, 50, maybe 60%, maybe. Mostly for XRP, you're going to be at like 40, 45% LTV, loan to value. And you'll be at a 10 to 15% plus interest rate. So unless you have a really good deal to go put that capital to work in, right, it's not going to make sense for a lot of people. And you have to understand that, okay, your portfolio is now $1 million because your 10,000 XRP at $100 is worth $1 million. But if we're still at 40, 50% LTV, then that means that you're only going to be able to pull out in a loan, take out a loan for 40 to 50% of your portfolio value. So you're only pulling $400,000 or $500,000 out of that $1 million XRP nest egg. So what can you realistically do with that? You could buy a home. I mean, some parts of America, you could buy a couple homes. You could buy one home cash, or it'd be enough for a down payment on maybe your first multifamily property. One thing that I want people to understand here is that you'll have time now to prepare for this wealth that you're going to be coming into. The smartest investors in our community are going to borrow against that XRP portfolio to go buy more investments, more assets, not to go buy the new whip, not to take wife, go take her on a date, go take her on a nice vacation. I understand we want to do some of those things, but that's going to be a small portion of the payout that you take. And ideally, most of that portfolio is going to be rolled into the next deal. Cash flowing real estate, cash flowing business. You're going to start your business that you always dreamed of. You're going to scale up your existing side hustle or business that you've already started. You're going to quit your job and be able to, go explore some of these other things that you've been passionate about, been dreaming of doing with your life. That is what's coming for the XRP family who continues to stack with conviction right now, getting that XRP bag above 10,000 XRP and then having the patience, right, to wait out the higher prices because they are coming. It's just, I think that we've had to extend our timelines out longer than a lot of people want to. And we can fight that as much as we want to. I suggest instead of fighting about that, complaining about how quickly XRP gets there, you plan and prepare now for it so that if it happens in a year, you're ready, or if it takes 5 years, 7 years. I know people don't want to run through that scenario, but if it does take that long, you're prepared for that when the time comes, and you're going to hit the ground running when you borrow against that XRP to roll it into the next investments. You're studying business now. You're running and growing a business now, right? You're studying and investing in real estate now. Whatever you're going to borrow against that XRP to go invest in, you are already hitting the ground running. You already have an operation. You already have a team. You're surrounded by professionals that are going to help you get across the finish line to actually create generational wealth. Because is 10,000 XRP enough for generational wealth? I don't think it is, at least not in the next 10 years. Maybe 15, 20 years out, sure. But 10,000 XRP absolutely will be and already has been life-changing for a lot of people. And I think that you're going to see a huge, huge benefit in taking the time to prepare now so that you can roll that investment in XRP into the next ones without having to take away from your principal, without having to pay the tax man. And you can roll it in just like the wealthy do and keep on growing your assets and your investments and create that generational wealth that we're all shooting for. So I hope that that answers your question. That's how I look at it, the timelines that I'm kind of on, running through a few different scenarios. You guys play around with the equation, the variables, the timeline, the prices, and let me know what you think down below. Is 10,000 XRP enough? If not, you guys let me know how much XRP we should be stacking up. It almost feels like it's never enough, right? For me, I always want, we can always stack more. But you guys let me know in the comments down below. Appreciate your support. If you like this video, that would greatly help us out. Everything else is at my website, zachrector.com. Thank you and God bless. I am your host, Zach Rector. I really appreciate all of the love and support. If you want to support the channel, just remember that you can start by smashing that thumbs up for me, sharing this content far and wide, and everything else is at my website.